Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to talk about a really fun budget rogue variant that I've been having a lot of success with at my locals and online tournaments, and that's Crusadia Kaiju OTK. So the whole point of this deck is to use a Kaiju to get rid of opponent's big threats, things like Dragoon, Ultimateness, Winda, Makaba, anything that you would have to play against that would be a threat. Put into the zone that Equimax points to, so it gains the attack. Make a Maximus into either of the zones that Equimax points to, use the effect of Maximus to double the damage that Equimax deals, and then sweep your opponent with an easy OTK. So the reason why this deck is really good right now is that our main meta decks don't have a lot of small negates. They have one really important card that they put out, and they want to kind of survive on that one card and OTK you the next turn. Things like Drytron or Tri-Brigade kind of do that. And with a Kaiju, we can get rid of that threat really easily, and we can use it to our advantage with Equimax or Regulex to gain that attack. You can kind of see on MGold40's channel, you can see a few Crusadia deck lists top every single week. A lot of them use Kaijus and have things similar to this deck. And then you can also see Jesse Cotton piloted a Crusadia deck that he went 5-0 with. He played more of a Dragon Link variant, but it shows that Crusadias are really, really strong right now, and are very fun to pretty much hit with the meta. So another reason I would really recommend this for a new and budget player is that the deck is really linear. There's not a lot of places where you can make mistakes, and the options you have are pretty open, as well as the fact that the only real expensive cards in this deck are the Kaijus and the Mech Knight Crusadia Abramax. Because of this, you can pick up the deck for less than $40 and pretty much stomp a lot of powerful decks. No one's going to be expecting you to Kaiju their big monster and then just OTK you with a Equimax. And because of that, I believe this is one of the best rogue budget options right now. You can also play with a more Dragon Link variant that Jesse Cotton did. You can always look at those decks, but right now I'm going to show you my budget variant, so let's get into the deck list. Alright, so let's get right into our deck profile. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be running 3 copies of Crusadia Draco. This card special summons itself to the zone that a Link monster points to, like every single Crusadia main deck monster, and also recycles any Crusadia from our graveyard back to our hand. This also includes the Link monsters, so if you're running low on them, you can also recycle those. Then we're playing 3 copies of Reclusia. This pops a Crusadia on our side of the field and 1 card on our opponent's side of the field. So we always want to see this card when we go second, because it can push a lot of board. And then we're running 3 copies of Arborea. This is like the Balinx of the deck, so if we want to go first, we want to have Arborea on the field or in the grave, so that we're able to kind of banish it, kind of like a Balinx. Then we're playing 3 copies of Crusadia Maximus. This enables all of our OTKs for the most part, and since it's a level 4, we can use it for rank 4 Xyz plays. Lastly, for the Crusadia names, we're running 2 copies of Leonis. It's not the greatest effect. It can make your Crusadia monster deal piercing, so if they have a big defensive wall or a monster that you have in defense position, you can use it to pretty much OTK. But overall, we only want to run 2 of it since it's not the greatest. And then we're running 2 copies of a honorary Crusadia. What we can do with Format Skipper is we reveal a card in our extra deck, and then when we link summon, we can treat it as that name. So what we usually do is reveal a Crusadia name, link it off for Magius, and then we get a free search of the next card, which is Parallel Exceed. This card is one of the most important cards in our deck, as it allows us to link climb really easily, or make a rank 4 when we're going first. I'm only running 2 formats because we don't want to see both a Parallel and a format in our main hand. We just want to see either or. And next, we're going to be playing 1 copy of World Crown. World Crown can be searched. It's a 2k body and can negate a monster that's special summoned from the extra deck. I just like it as a one-of. There's no reason to play more. And then we're playing a Gigabyte and a Ranryu. This card can special summon itself if you control a spellcaster, same with Ranryu. And the reason why I'm not running 2 of 1 is because we want to make sure that if we draw both of these, we can special summon out both of them. Next, we're running 2 copies of Dogoran and 3 copies of Jizukuru. Honestly, it doesn't matter what kaijus you're running. I just like running these 2 because these are the 2 biggest that I have. If you want to run the 6 kaiju, feel free, and if you want to have different names, that's also fine. Next, we're playing 1 copy of Dino Wrestler Pankratops. Really good card. Pretty much trades up and snowballs really, really easily. And then we're going to be playing some really good hand traps for the meta right now, which is Effect Veiler and Skullmeister. These are really cheap hand traps that you can find super easily with Structure decks for Effect Veiler and Ancient Guardians for Skullmeister. I really like these 2 hand traps because they're cheap and have a lot of versatility and usage in this metagame. And then for the power 1-ups, we're going to be having 1 Monster Reborn, 1 copy of World Legacy Guard Dragon. This card can be searched and allow us to recur our Draco to a Link Zone, and 1 copy of Instant Fusion. All of these cards are really good to have, and because Guard Dragon is searchable, we only need to run the 1. Lastly, let's go into our Crusadia spells. We're going to run 1 copy of Revival. This card pretty much allows our Link monsters to become Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. 2 copies of Crusadia Testament. This card lets us draw pretty much 1 to 4 cards in the damage step. They can't ash this, so I really like having it in my hand if I'm going second. 1 copy of Crusadia Power. This makes our Crusadia monsters unaffected. And then lastly, 1 copy of Crusadia Crawler. This lets us search out a copy of our World Crown or our Guard Dragon to our hand. And it also gives us a negate with Equimax. Now, let's go right into our extra deck. We're going to be running 2 copies of Magius. We don't need the 3rd because we can always recycle it, and we have other options, and the game shouldn't last that long. Next, we're running 2 copies of Regulex, same reason. We don't want to run too many. And then 2 copies of Equimax. I wouldn't run 1. I really like having 2 because you can have 1 in your starting combo if we go first, and the second one to OTK when we go turn 3. Next, our big boss monster, Avermax. It's really hard for a lot of decks to deal with right now, as well as the fact that it spins a card from your opponent's field to the deck. Next, 1 Salamangreat Almirage. This card is mainly if we get Impermed or Veilered on our 4-mod skipper, or if we don't draw a great hand, we can use this in a few combos. Next, we're playing Link Spider. This card is really in here if we get Nibiru'd. We can pretty much use the Nibiru token for a Link Spider, summon into the zone that it points to, and pretty much go from there. Next, we're running 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix. This card is really cool because we can co-link it with a lot of the monsters in our deck, like Link Spider, Regulex, and things like that. And because of that, it allows us to draw a card and also draw destroy a spell trap, so it's a really great card that we make pretty much every game. Next, we're playing 1 copy of Lina. Because most of our extra deck is light, and most of our cards in our deck can be light, we can use Lina to steal a card from our opponent's graveyard if they're also a light-based deck. And then another boss monster that we have is Topological Zeroboros. I really like this if we're going first and we know our opponent's playing a really heavy back row deck. Let's say a heavy trap deck. We can do a Zeroboros and then summon a Crawler to their zone so that we banish all their spell traps in the end phase. Next, for Xyz plays, we're going to play Abyss Dweller and Baguska. Abyss Dweller is really good against graveyard decks right now, and Baguska is really good if our opponent isn't playing a heavy Link deck. And then lastly, for our instant fusion target, we have a 1000 Dice Restrict. That's it for the deck profile. If you guys want a combo video, let me know, and now we'll go into some of the costs of the deck and kind of like do a quick breakdown. Alright, so let's get into the cost for the main deck and extra deck. So we can see that the Crusadia names are pretty cheap. You can get almost all of them for less than $5. The Parallax Seed is about 50 cents each, so not too bad. And then the main cost that we have in our main deck are the Kaijus, where it's about $9 for the 5 Kaijus that we're running. It'll cost a little bit more if you want to run the 6th, and a little bit more than that if you want to run different names than what I'm running. After that, the hand traps aren't super expensive. It's about like $5 for the 2 playsets of hand traps. And they're really good pickups right now, so even if you're not playing Crusadia, you can always use them in your other decks. And then when we run to our extra deck, we can see that our Equimax isn't too expensive. It's about like $250 for the 2 copies, and then the main cost lies with Avermax and Baguska, where Avermax is a $5 pickup, and Baguska is a $3 pickup. These cards are very important to our deck, so it makes sense that they're a little bit expensive, but it's not too much of a deal because we're still able to keep our cost under $40 barely, and because of that, it's a really great deck that I would recommend to new players and returning players who just want a cheap deck to play at their locals. And make sure you leave in the comments what cards you really like in this deck that you kind of find interesting, as well as cards that you would cut from this deck. And if you weren't going to play a budget variant of this deck, what would you play? Let me know in the comments.